world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes. An elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad. Welcome back to the IP Squad, our ongoing investigation into adaptations of the works of Stephen King. I'm John Campbell. With me, my partner for this investigation, Eliott Lewis.
John, it seems that someone buried Pet Sematary in the burial grounds, and it came back different.
Yes, I will say, no matter what anyone's thoughts are on this or how much this works for you, it's definitely different.
It's definitely different.
And so much of the promotion for this movie was like, it's different.
Yeah, which right off the top, I think was a mistake. I think that was a mistake.
Yes, I agree because regardless of the actual movie itself, because that dug people into camps, right? And so
it dug. I was in one of the camps.
You
I was like,
hadn't seen this, right?
I don't understand the point of this, and I'm not really. I just am not interested in this.
Yeah.
And the fact that the movie like plays up that it's a twist.
Yeah.
It seems to me like, okay, so why if this is supposed to be a twist in the narrative structure of the movie, why would you market it as different? Why would you market it having people going in knowing what the twist is, even though the movie that had to be a marketing prop, right?
Because I don't. Yeah, you hadn't seen this movie before this, is that correct?
No, this was my first time.
So I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I did go in knowing because all the press was about the change, and so they do the thing in the movie where they fake you out. But I did go like, oh yeah, but they're not gonna. Oh okay, yeah, and I actually think that would have been more interesting if they just said nothing and then just let people. Because the other thing is, as always, reading through the reviews of these, or at least skimming through. My God, I don't sit there. I want people to know I don't have much of a life, but I have some life to not read every review individually. But there's a lot of people who clearly, I don't believe them when they say it's like, I love the '89 movie and I went in wanting. It's like, no, from the tone of this, it sounds like you were like, the fuck they change. And I do think that is guarded. Although, the alternate thing is to the say, or I guess the reverse is the Star Trek Into Darkness thing about like where you actively say we're not doing the thing and then you do the thing, and it's like that's not good either. So it's tricky stuff when you're messing around with things, people. And there's probably not a massive amount of people who saw this movie who have like great affinity for the '89 movie. That's a cult film for sure.
Yeah.
But like the idea of but as we know when we talked about on that episode, there are a subsection of people who like that movie is very near and dear to them.
I am one of those.
You were one of those.
I don't think I went as hard as the 10-star reviewer folks, but it is very near and dear to me.
Yeah.
It has a special place in my heart.
And that's the thing, is it never that both the book and the movie Pet Sematary never really, I enjoyed them, but they were never like my favorite Kings.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I'm much warmer on this movie than some. I mean, this movie definitely has this movie was very successful. I mean, it's not like and like critical response was not like, oh God,
Yeah,
it wasn't like it's a masterpiece either,
No, but it's definitely. It ain't Carrie 2013. So
oh Lord, no.
That's got that going for it.
No. Way more competent filmmaking going on here. Because I actually think, once again, I think we stopped talking about this so we could turn the microphones on earlier.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like this movie. I actually might really like this movie. Maybe.
I watched it twice yesterday.
Okay.
and I'm still chewing on it a little
Hmm.
bit. So, and actually, so did you ever like watch those I think they were just like videotapes, but it was like animated fairy tales from different that were similar from different cultures, and
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
them had Pat Morita.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, so for some reason it made me think of his interstitials in those being like, what makes a Cinderella story what makes a story a Cinderella story? And I
Yeah.
that popped in like,
Ah.
what makes a story a Pet Cemetery story? And
Yeah.
that's sort of the question with this movie.
Ah, I think that actually is a really good approach to this though, because it is like for all the changes is, and that's something I look for. Once again, if anyone listens to any podcast to do with Brendan Jones, I'm always the guy arguing for, but does it get to the core of the thing? Brendan gets very caught up in they've made the following individual changes to the look of
Hmm.
something, the individual characters of something, and I'm always trying to go, yeah, yeah, but like, is it at the core of it? And I think this thing still gets at the core of what this is. And
Yeah,
actually,
because
oh, you go ahead. Yeah, no, because I was going to spit at
because
something else.
to
So.
me,
Yeah,
to me,
yeah,
the core of what makes a story a Pet
yes,
Cemetery
yeah.
story is that is the core of it is the like parental fears and horrors around losing a child, around like illness, sickness, and death in children.
Definitely.
And in that way, yes, it does. I think that it has a few more stumbling blocks. Like the there is something here,
Yeah.
and I really wish that there were aspects of the movie that that gave that more of a foot to
Mm.
like a start block to
Well,
start the race on.
well, because I think you're right about it's not the Carrie 2013 movie because, and I think that's what you're getting at, and I agree with is like because there is a take here. This doesn't come in with like, I don't know, we're just kind of doing Carrie again. It does feel like these filmmakers are like, here's our stamp on the Pet
Yeah,
Cemetery story. Whether that
which
fully
I can
works,
respect.
yeah, no, that's the thing. This is not made. This is not cynically made. I mean, for a studio, I'm sure it was right, but it's like they lucked out in hiring people who, and having watched some of the interviews with the filmmakers, because this is a pair of directors who made this.
Hmm.
They speak so like it is so clear they are jazzed to be doing this. This is not, they're coming at it from a real like, oh God, we're doing Pet Cemetery. And they, let's see, what else did they do? Because I want to see, they haven't. Oh God, they worked on the Scream TV show. I can't back that.
Yeah.
I never okay. Also, to be fair, I never actually watched any of it, but it was as a massive fan of those movies that just was like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then they're making something now
Yeah.
called The Swallow, is what they're currently making. So I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
But anyway, no, I think there's definitely, and I feel like they responded to all the things about why they made the changes they made. We'll talk about weirdly King being like very positive on all the changes they made, which is not what you always expect. Because usually he's, although I don't know, maybe he's just so far removed from this book at this point that he's like, yeah, man, I get it, sure. And a lot of it is like practical stuff, right? Like where they just go like, well, it's just easier to deal with an older kid actor playing the monster as opposed to it being like a pretty much literal baby, And then of course, what I
Hmm.
love is you make a decision like that, and then the think pieces I read about, now what does the gender reversal of this say about the story, and you go like, oh, because I do think there's something there about
Yeah.
like father-daughter relationships in this
Yeah,
particular.
because there's kind of something there in the novel about father-son relationships. I mean, right, because we talked about in the original in the first episode we did about Pet Cemetery
Yeah.
that the conceit of Pet Cemetery was kind of a few different things, but the kind of death of Gage Creed comes from like a a piece of Steve's life
Mm-hmm.
in which he something happened and he was like, okay, but what if the worst possible outcome of this scenario happened?
Right.
And it seems to have just happened to be his youngest son.
Right.
But right, like that doesn't mean that there is no interpretation to be had there, right? Like
that's the thing, is it doesn't feel like, and that's I think speaks to, this doesn't feel like careless filmmaking, and it doesn't feel like they switched it to Ellie being the kid who dies in this, and then they're just like, yeah, but that's the same movie. It's like, no, there is a different vibe and a different relationship Lewis has, and also the idea of her being not just the daughter but the older child as well means there's much more cognizant. And I think I gotta say, one of the real MVPs of this movie is that actress who plays the little girl.
I think she did a pretty good job,
especially when she comes back, because like she's asked to do a lot for a kid actor. That's tough. And like her, before she that like the brief middle ground before she switches to full on killer, when she's just like, I'm dead, aren't I? And you're like, ooh, this is pretty unsettling. So
yeah, I gotta say, I was like pleasantly surprised, because when she was like for the first 2/3 of the movie, I thought she was just okay. Like I was like, oh, okay, yeah, she's
competent
pretty,
kid actor,
little glory. And then she like comes back from the dead and she is just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Like I was pretty impressed.
It's really good. And playing then when she turns into full on like killer mode, not overplaying it, which I got to put on her and these directors, because so many, I'm always quick to blame directors for bad kid performances and stuff too, because they're a kid. It really is about how are you pointing them into, that. I mean, that's obviously like one of the big gifts that like Steven Spielberg has, right? Is like that guy can get, and these guys, I will say, also really get a lot out of her. It's really good, because I do enjoy the 1989 movie, but that is a literal baby, and it is very fun, but in a much more
more campy, campier way,
and
which I think we sort of, after watching Pet Sematary 2, we kind of came to the conclusion that was sort of, there's sort of a campiness to Mary Lambert that was a little more subdued in Pet Sematary 1989, but definitely there.
Yeah. And that is very much feels like another like impetus behind this movie, is like, this thing is so deadly serious. This movie is dark.
Yeah, that's one of the things
you're not vibing on.
Yeah, wasn't really vibing on.
I mean, immediately from the very beginning of this movie, when you have the procession of kids in the animal masks, there's a distinct like,
it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere though. It's just there to be unsettling for like a minute and a half. Yeah. That's the problem, is like I understand the impulse to change the tone overall.
Right.
But it doesn't really go anywhere in any kind of like meaningful way to me.
Sure. I mean, I think, I do think there's I don't know, like that's not I don't disagree with, that's your reaction to it. It worked for me. I don't know, is sort of the thing.
Okay.
The animal masks, maybe a little just modern horror sort of like thing on it. I'm not sure that fully works. But I just like the weight of the movie. The other thing, they definitely, when we talk about King things and stuff, this movie works very hard to avoid a lot of stumbling blocks that are in the book. And I think mostly successfully. Like getting rid of because they avoid some of the things I don't like about the 89 movie, where it's like the weird specificity of King. Like the relationship with the parents, all the Zelda stuff. I think everything is just more inferred in this movie, which I think works for me, especially in terms of if you're treating it as more straight drama.
Yeah, that definitely.
Like really, particularly the Zelda stuff, which is, I think we both agree, is like one of the things that is one of the worst decisions in that 89 movie.
Yeah.
Here, really leaving it on, and in fact, I was reading an interview with the directors where they talk about that was the thing they kept pouring over again and again in different drafts, how much to put in. At certain points, even talking about, do we just get rid of the Zelda stuff entirely because it's too weird and we can't put it in here without it like dragging the whole movie down. But I think they found this right middle ground where they really do let it be Rachel's trauma about it as opposed to Zelda herself. And I really think actually Amy Seimetz is really good in this movie, I think. And they get rid of a lot of the stuff that Rachel has in the book, but also is more like baggage of it, right? Like the psychic stuff is, you could read into some of the psychic stuff, maybe. And especially also with Ellie as well. But it's not as at the forefront. Victor Pascal is another thing where it's like, oh yeah, he's this like forerunner of doom, but everything is just a little bit more subtle in this movie.
I do wish there was more Victor Pascal in this, though.
I do think that there's an argument that there could have been either there needed to be no Victor Pascal or more Victor Pascal. They do kind of try to walk a line there. But I do you certainly once again see that they are trying not to do the 89 movie definitely whiffed on Pascal, I think.
Yeah, it's like
especially
the 89 movie had maybe a little too much Pascal, and they like overcorrected.
Yeah, and I think once again, because I do think like a lot of remakes, this is in reaction to, well, that was a thing that was silly in the 89 movie, so pull back.
Yeah.
But I think where that really worked is like Rachel's parents, they don't have any lines in this movie, but you do get a couple of looks that tell you everything about their relationship with Lewis that I thought, that's great, as opposed to them literally the father like getting in a fist fight with him at the funeral of the kid.
At the funeral,
insane. This actor who plays Rachel's father, I got to give credit for just Frank Scorp,
the massive stink eye. Just
God, when they're picking her up, and you're like, dude, that says 100 pages worth of King's novel in that one reaction. By the way, the guy who plays Rachel's father is an actor named his name is Frank Scorpion.
Oh,
with a SCHORPION, but still Frank Scorpion. The fact that he didn't get into professional wrestling is a massive mistake. Frank Scorpion, but and that's all you need though. That's where so I think there's also some of that. I do think maybe I had a more positive, because I remember thinking it was all right when I saw it in the theater. But I think I did have, I was doing probably what the filmmakers were doing this time because we did watch the 89 version. So I do think some of it was just like, I was like, oh, nice. They like cleared that hurdle on some places. Making the Pet Sematary more vague and not directly Micmac stuff, I think was a good decision. There's one line about like, oh, the natives found it and were like, ran away.
Yeah, I don't know. They're like, okay, right? Neither of us are indigenous.
No,
so it's hard to, like, we don't nothing we say is going to be like,
we're speaking from a purely
the definitive, like,
no, we're speaking from a purely broadly intellectual, like, book learning level of it. Yeah,
because like Stephen King does have a I mean, right. We've talked about the kind of his racial imagination, and kind of he sort of seemed to popularize, at least in modern imagination, the quote. I'm saying this like as the term being used, Indian burial ground, which is incredibly problematic.
Oh God, yeah. But especially, I remember when we were kids, though, so much horror.
It was on that. So much of like parody horror as well. Like
but I always want to push back because it's a movie I love. Not the case in Poltergeist. Stop putting that on
people.
Stop putting that on Poltergeist, people. I get so mad when people do it because I love Poltergeist. And that movie's totally fine, man.
Yeah. Totally 100% fine.
Yeah, no issues at all with Poltergeist.
No issues at all.
No, but yes, absolutely. And I do think this knows that. The makers of this movie know that.
Yes. I tried to like find something specific on this movie, but I couldn't really. But yeah, so like I don't know if removing a name from it makes it better. I don't know, but
Mm.
still keeping the kind of indigenous thing. Like, I don't know what it would
Well,
be otherwise. So it maybe falls into the category of like, well, maybe we shouldn't have done Pet Cemetery again,
well,
but I'm not a
there is that. This does feel like a decision to mitigate the damage because there is something inherent to it. I do think this movie does a much better job of conveying the thing that's in the novel, which is sort of the trans walking out of reality into something
Oh,
else.
yeah, that was one thing I definitely wanted to mention was like you get a much better sense of the kind of like ethereal, like this like not quite rightness of the further them they go into the forest. Like that
And
was really cool.
it was really cool. And because they did it in a way which is, once again, I applaud these filmmakers for doing it in a way that I would be worried at 2019 where we would do it with much more CGI and we would see a Wendigo and stuff like that. No, it's still all just on the fringes, but atmosphere is it's really well done. And it was really effective in the theater. All the like surround sound stuff, and you really felt like
I
you
can
were,
imagine.
yeah, it was just like, you really did feel this like, where are we, man? And it's still
Yeah.
subtle, though. That's the thing that I'm amazed by, because we're used to like, oh, now we can CGI it, man. Now it's going to be really weird.
Yeah. Which was the case in the 2019 Carrie.
Oh, God. I mean, yeah, talk about a CGI fest. Boy, oh, boy,
Yeah.
oh, boy. Yeah. So, I like I said, I think there's definitely, they're making this with all the baggage of knowing Pet Sematary as 2019 filmmakers.
Yeah.
But another thing I really applaud the movie for in that same way, since we're talking about the CGI, all practical cat work.
Yeah.
And really good cat work. These 5 cats played church in this movie. They're fucking great.
Pickups. Yeah.
Those cats are great. Also, I love whoever was the main hero church for most of the movie. There's an amazing photo. Go and look this up of that cat at the premiere of this movie. And that cat is in a bow tie, walking the red carpet, and it might be the most adorable thing you've ever seen. And they even have like a little perch for like when the press takes photos. So they've got the trainer and the cat is on a perch. And I mean, look, I know it's a cat, but that cat seems to be like proud to be like, yeah, this is my work.
Oh my God.
I'm really proud of my work in this thing.
Oh, yeah, the picture where he's like leaning towards
Yeah.
the tree. Oh my God.
It's the best.
My God.
That cat knows he did a good job.
Good cat. Good.
That is a
good kitty.
Yeah, that is a good kitty in this thing. And the cat is really good in this. I can't even imagine when they talked about having to... it took 2 months to acclimate these cats to the makeup job that had to be on them. Because I'm like, I can't even imagine trying to put makeup on a cat. I applaud anyone because, like, people always talk about that. Brent Spiner talks about that on Star Trek: The Next Generation, that any scene with the cat was like, fucking hell. It's going to be a nightmare day at work. Because cats they're not like dogs, obviously. They're just not,
Nah.
I mean, the most trained cat is still, like, gonna cat,
Yeah.
But
Like my cat barely likes having a collar on. I couldn't imagine trying to like put prosthetic makeup.
Yeah. No, my cat makes it very clear. Anything I am asking him to do, he is still choosing to do it. That's not a command. This just I happen to want to do the same thing as you.
It coincides.
Yeah, this works out perfectly. So I am amazed, but like this cat, I don't know. I mean, some of it's on the filmmaking, the music stuff, but like this cat is giving a performance. There are moments in this movie where I thought, like, damn, look at that expression on that cat. It's good stuff. I really gotta, and I think it's all pretty much practical with some CGI augmentation here and there. But good on the filmmakers once again for not. This is not really a CGI fest as I'm used to most things being. Which I want to look at what do they have the listed budget on this thing, because I can't tell. This okay, 21 million is what they say. So lower, especially by studio standards. And it made 113 worldwide. So Paramount, obviously, very happy because we're going to finish up this season by talking about the prequel to this. They like being in the Pet Cemetery business over there at Paramount.
They love it in the Pet Cemetery.
But I think something as we always talk about where this lands in the Stephen King oeuvre, this is totally came into existence because of the success of It Part 1.
Yeah,
right?
because it was not exactly development hell, but it was kind of in development hell since like 2010. I was reading.
Well, because it's one of those things where I think everybody sort of had, I think, especially in Hollywood, that reaction of like, yeah, that wasn't like a definitive. The 89 version wasn't definitive, and it's one of the big ones. So like, same thing with It, right? It was in development for a long time too, because they were like, okay, people have a lot of nostalgia for that miniseries, but like, there is still yet to be like the big glossy Hollywood version of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think, but I just don't think, and I'm sure that there were, different scripts and takes and, on it and stuff like that, like It. I haven't seen the reporting about it as much. But yeah, I do think that was definitely like, because we see that's a huge shit, and we're getting into that now, right? It Chapter 1 comes out, and suddenly, much like, Iron Man or whatever kicked off like with the Marvel stuff, all of a sudden everybody's like, Jesus Christ, do we have any Stephen King books on, do we have the rights to any of that? Can we get anything? And yes, sometimes that gets you this, sometimes it gets you Mr. Harrigan's phone.
Sometimes it gets you Mr. Harrigan's phone!
Yeah, Mr. Harrigan's phone is really a throwback to the 90s when they just wanted anything with that guy's name on it. It just absolutely anything. Whether it makes a movie or not. And Uncle Stevie don't care. He gets paid,
And listen, it doesn't stop him from writing books. So
hey man, as long as it doesn't stop me from writing, it is really interesting to see in a world now where he really doesn't adapt them himself anymore. I do think it is just like, thanks for the money, Hollywood.
Bye.
I love John Carpenter has that attitude. I love too when they talk about, does it ever piss you off that they keep making these bad remakes of movies? Like, what do I care? I don't have to see them, and they send me checks.
Yeah,
makes no difference to me. And also, I feel like in the case of Carpenter or King as well, if they suck, that still works out for them, because then it's still like, no, they didn't do it as good as me. So,
yeah,
that's still good press for them. If it's like, yeah, this is a shitty adaptation of King, now it's like, yeah, can't touch the master, But yeah, I'm just trying to see. So yeah, Pet Sematary is pretty quick on the heels of it's the first major thing to be made after It Chapter 1.
It seemed from what I was reading to the point that, like, honestly, I can't remember if this is what Muschietti was part of like that conversation.
It
was like
briefly flirted with the idea of directing this.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that Warner Brothers just wanted It Chapter 2 as quick as possible.
Yeah.
I love that he's got that kind of passion, but like, probably for the best that he didn't like immediately steer into you don't want to be the Mick Garris,
I don't know. Listen, Mick Garris is still doing stuff. So.
By the way, I don't know if I mentioned before, I do really enjoy Mick Garris's podcast where he just interviews horror filmmakers. It's great because that guy's love of the genre is so clear.
It's palpable.
He is such a little nerd who's always just like, everybody has on there's like, oh, it's so cool. Oh my God, Joe Dante's on here. I got to talk about Gremlins, whatever. And you're just like, oh, you're adorable, Mick Garris. You just, he's in his 60s now or whatever. He's still like, oh, it's a super sweet movie.
And his hair looks fucking fantastic.
That hair, man, I love it. He's stuck with that. He found that in the 70s and was just like, this is what I look like now forever.
Yep. And until it falls out, you can't take it from me. And
if anything, it looks cooler now that it's totally white. Mm-hmm. Like, he's becoming a Stephen King character. And I'm sure that seems like a meme, except he would be like, thank you.
Oh, the highest compliment.
Yeah. Sure. That's high praise. But I want to talk about the writers of this movie, Matt Greenberg and Jeff Bueller, because they have very interesting careers. Matt Greenberg, almost exclusively a horror guy.
The name sounds familiar.
Well, One of his first credits is doing revisions on Children of the Corn 3 Urban Harvest.
Ah, that's what it is now.
There it is. Then that leads to The Prophecy 2. Remember those Prophecy movies? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he is the screenwriter of Halloween H2O 20 years later.
Ah.
Not a good movie.
Not a good movie.
I wanted to like it. But then he did write a movie that I think is rad, which is Reign of Fire. Is it good? I don't know, but it's rad. It is rad. That's why I stick with that as opposed to...
It's bitchin', right?
It's a bitchin' movie. It's Christian Bale fighting dragons in post-apocalyptic London. That's kind of stupid, but I also have seen it like 10 times. It's one of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely what got him this job is his screenplay for 1408. That would be
that might be what I'm remembering him from.
Because that was a very successful King adaptation.
Yes.
And I think that's for sure got him, I'm sure, to this. He takes a stop off at the actually a season I've talked about doing on the IP Sqaud is franchise non-starters. He wrote the script for Seventh Son, the Jeff Bridges fantasy movie. Yeah, right. Like, there's so many of these. I know because I saw all of them with Gorgoni in like the mid 2000s. Because he would always have read the books. I hadn't, and we would go see these movies that were always had these endings to like start a trilogy, and then nothing ever came of them. So I have talked about that as a potential future IP Sqaud season.
God, I may have to come on for Inkheart and finally actually watch the movie.
Oh yeah, Inkheart. I distinctly remember Aragon. Mm-hmm. The other Golden Compass, which of course now then did become the HBO show.
Got a
now
TV show.
Yeah. Luckily they can. But yeah, all of these things that all had these endings of like until next time. And even in the moment, you're like, there's not going to be a next
There's
time.
no
Come on,
way.
man. But I don't think that's his fault on that. Actually, he just has a story by credit on the screen, story by. And then this. So, he's one of the... So, Matt Greenberg and then Jeff Bueller. Let's see. Who also wrote...
Bueller.
Yeah. Who clearly was the main writer on this because he then comes back and writes Pet Sematary Bloodlines. But he wrote The Midnight Meat Train.
That's the one for me that I'm like, is this movie good? Absolutely not. Have I seen it 10 times? You bet your ass I have.
I kind of am with you on having that same reaction to Midnight Meat Train. I kind of, number one, I love that Bradley Cooper's in it because I love really good, highly trained actors in garbage. It's like my favorite thing. It also is a great, insane Vinnie Jones performance. It's fun trash. That is fun trash, folks.
It is. It's over the top and just...
Yeah. It's called The Midnight Meat Train.
It's called The Midnight Meat Train. Come on.
That's it. I love movies that are just like, you know what you're getting. What do you want? You're going to get on the Midnight Meat Train for being Midnight Meat Train? Come on, folks.
Thank you, Clive.
Yeah.
we cannot help but stand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, so much of his stuff is like that, too. Like, you just go like, you know what? I kind of dig it, though. Anyway, then, he does this. The Jacob's Ladder remake? I forgot they remade Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Oh, why'd they do that? Anyway, he wrote that.
Talk about a why.
Well,
that movie kicks ass. The original movie kicks ass.
Yeah. Also, it's like we all know what talk about like knowing the twist when you go into the thing, right? But I will say he did the thing he wrote before Pet Sematary Bloodlines is Studio 666, which I kind of love, which is the Foo Fighters horror movie. It's the most...
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's super fun because it was just... It's literally just Dave Grohl going, what if we were just in a horror movie? And they all... So the Foo Fighters play themselves...
Wait, so the Foo Fighters are in it?
Yeah, they're the main characters. It is about the Foo Fighters.
God.
They're like, we need to get out of town to record our new album, so we're going to go to this spooky old mansion... And Dave gets possessed by a demon and starts killing off the other members of the Foo Fighters.
Oh my god. I've never heard of this.
Oh, it's kind of great. Because it's...
Okay.
Talk about a movie made by just like... we're rockers who love horror movies, and we're just like, shit, maybe we can use our clout to make a horror movie. And it's pretty fucking fun. I will say it's pretty good. It's got a bunch of gnarly kills. Dave Grohl is clearly the only one with any acting ability whatsoever. But they're all having a really good time. And so I'm glad. Yeah, he and Dave Grohl wrote that movie together. I kind of recommend. It's like a light recommend. It's pretty fun, and they got a bunch. Like Dave Grohl's friends with a lot of comedy people, so you get like Jeff Garlin and Whitney Cummings, and like a bunch of comedy people to fill out the supporting cast. Jenna Ortega's in it. Will Forte's in it. Like it's kind of fun. I actually do recommend it. Like I said, going in knowing like these guys are not actors. A lot of and you can definitely tell where they're like, give that guy less lines. Like, okay, he's gonna die first. That guy doesn't want to be in the movie, like whatever. But yeah, it's a totally silly movie. So and then he wrote Pet Sematary Bloodlines, which we'll talk about in a couple weeks. So which I will say is a distinct. Why are they making a Pet Sematary remake? And then David Duchovny's in it. I guess I'll watch it. Yes, so this Pet Sematary, though, leading to the prequel where we have sexy Judd Crandall in that prequel. We got to talk about Lithgow in this thing, right? Because
yes,
you talk about the most, and we talked it up so much last time. The thing everybody most remembers is the Fred Gwynne performance, right?
Yes,
that is such an indelible pop culture, like iconic movie performance. So I think they were really smart to get an incredibly revered actor that everybody already has a relationship with, and then tell him to clearly like don't go at that, right?
Yeah.
I think that was really smart. Don't do the accent, at least certainly nowhere near the level of that. And it further also adds to that groundedness. And I think he's just, well, once again, hot take, John Lithgow's great in something. I think he's great in this.
Whoa. Yeah. I sort of get the same vibes that we did from Julianne Moore last week, where like I don't think he's putting in 100%, but his 70 is everybody else's 120.
That's the thing. Yeah, there's such, and he's perfect for this part because there is such a gravitas and weight. And the second you even just see him in this movie, you're like, oh, this guy's seen shit, man.
Yeah.
Like there's such, but then also because he's Lithgow, he is able to play. I really do think there are very few actors that could play this and like can play the like I've seen horrible things, but also like I'm befriending this child and there's a warmth to him, because that really is like that guy's whole career is split between being terrifying and being warm and lovable.
Yeah. And like not even just like his like the emotional acting, but like he really, and I don't know if this is due to just age or if it was a choice, but either way, but like the way he physically carries himself too is very much walks that line in an impressive way.
Well, I think it's also interesting that both he and Fred Gwynne are gigantic. Right? Like they're both these large, not necessarily imposing, but just like,
who's the largest old man we can find in 2018?
It does feel that way, right? But I think that's part of that physicality is they both just sort of have the other weird thing that I got from the trivia. That's like a totally random thing. Both Harvard alums, Fred Gwynne and John Lithgow. Yeah, I was like, wow. Also, a couple of smarties too. But it is. But going after like you need a like real deal classic actor with chops and gravitas as Judd Crandall, and underplaying it, playing it like the whole movie, playing everything a little bit more realistically. Having him be, I can't remember, is his wife dead in the book? Was that a thing?
Yes. No. She dies over the course of the book.
Because she's in the 89 movie, but totally sidelined. I like this better where he's just, there's like, isn't there like a one-off line about her in the 89 movie where she's like, Judd, get in the house?
No, that's his mom.
Oh, is it his mom? Oh, that's weird.
In the like flashbacks?
No. There's when they're like out there drinking. He's like, my wife doesn't like me drink. I thought she was alive for like one scene in the. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I drink a lot. No.
So does Judd.
Yeah, I know. That's why I really relate to this guy. No, I really understand his alcoholism. But yeah, and of course, I mean, it's such a thankless role too because you also get the like, oh yeah, let me tell you about the pet cemetery. So you need somebody who you are happy to hear talk, even if they're just going, well, here's all the rules, you know. It's the toughest thing. I'm a huge fan of Christopher McQuarrie, who writes all the Mission Impossible movies, and he talks about like whenever he hears young screenwriters go, I want to try to avoid exposition in my movies. Like, that's insane. You can't avoid you can't avoid exposition. You just got to make peace with exposition and then try to figure out how to best present it. But at a certain point in every movie, somebody eventually has to go, here's what's going on. And so I do think in a case of this, it's like, well, if you get John Lithgow to say it, then we're all going to kind of lean in a little bit, right? You're going like, oh, this guy's pretty interesting. And it's really heartbreaking when he dies in this.
Yeah. I can't remember what I was like actually going to say about it because I watched this twice yesterday and I had like other stuff to do. So I stayed up kind of late watching it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what I was going to say, but I really liked the when Ellie kind of flips her murder switch and she goes over to kill Judd, the transformation into like showing the faces of like the people that are like to like mess with, like, I thought that was very cool. I liked that a lot.
Very cool. And also, once again, to just keep my big thing subtly done, no big crazy transformation, but it is, and it's just, I do think this movie is really good. It is certainly gorier, but it's pretty subtle in a lot of it. There's a lot of subtle stuff. I will say it didn't feel like they really hit the gore as hard as they could have, once again.
Yeah.
I sort of feel the same way. It's a little bit how I feel about Muschietti, too, where it's like, okay, there's a couple times he maybe takes it, but a lesser filmmaker, the whole movie would have been a splatterfest.
Yeah.
And I feel this. I feel very similar, but I feel like it makes sense that this is in the wake of It, because this does feel like, let's take the It playbook to Pet Sematary. Okay, I'm trying to get to like, okay. All right. Well, I'm doing it. We briefly mentioned, I want to talk about Zelda because I do like their portrayal of it more. Like I said, more in the horror of Rachel, and then the sort of climactic thing where she sees herself as Zelda.
See, that was a thing I didn't really vibe with, the kind of haunting of Rachel out. Like, I know I see the purpose of why it was done. Like, there is to me there is clearly an attempt to involve Rachel in the story as a character more, which I think is a good impulse because she's not very involved. Like, the story is about Lewis in yours. So one of the changes in this is that it affects her more. I just don't know if like Zelda, these physical manifestations of being haunted, I'm not sure if that was the right play, because it doesn't really vibe with the whole like burial thing.
Well, it does feel like a thing where no one would have written that into this movie if they hadn't inherited it from the book, right? Nobody, if you were just to write this story, I don't think you would have included any of this stuff. But it's sort of like, okay, we got to find a way to seed the Zelda stuff in here. So how do we do that? And that can sometimes irk me in a screenplay where it's like, you're starting from, we have to include this, so how? As opposed to just going, what fits the story? Because the best moment, maybe the most affecting moment in this movie, is such a small one from Amy Seimetz, who's an actress I love. And she's also a really good filmmaker. By the way, go read the Rolling Stone article about her quitting that HBO show, The Idol, because it was a misogynistic piece of shit. And it's great and makes you love her even more. But yeah, she was supposed to direct that show and then was like, hey, this fucking sucks. I don't want to be involved in this trash. And then when it came out and everybody's like, this is trash. It's like, yeah,
she was like,
she was
boy, I hate being right all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But no, the most effective scene to me is when she comes back. Because I love, you talk about getting Rachel into the story more without it being the psychic sensing and chasing across, that's in King's novel that like gets her into the story, but you're like, wait, what? But her coming back and the whole sequence of her when she comes back and starts to realize what Lewis has done, and the moment when undead Ellie hugs her and just how she plays that, and then Jason Clarke being like, hug your daughter, and just her being like, no. It's so good to me.
I'm out.
That I found that's always like how I feel about a lot of these horror movies. Like that to me is one of the most unsettling moments in this movie, and it's such a small nonverbal piece of acting from her. But just like Lewis is full on fucking gone when she comes back, and her whole reaction to scene, that is not my daughter. I don't know what kind of fucked up black magic you've gotten involved in here, pal. I think is great. And I love that they consistently, once again, in making her character stronger and more of a part of the plot in that sense is so good, because it's just forcing her to be like, you're insane. You've obviously gone insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think, I know we differ a little bit on Jason Clarke in this, but I do think he's really good at doing the I'm gone, as opposed to... Now, in some ways, I am comparing it to that guy whose name I don't even remember, who goes, and some of that is Mary Lambert's campy acting, campy directing, but he went a little bit more like, I'm crazy. And I thought Jason Clarke did more of a like, yeah, this is what we have to do. Feel free to disagree. Yeah.
Oh, I don't need nobody's permission.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm not,
No,
I'm not like dug in on this. I'm not ready to like, put up the defenses, but yeah.
I did not see really any kind of character arc in his performance. I'm going to be honest. I have not seen this guy in a lot of stuff. You've seen him in more stuff than I have.
Yeah.
But he, like, it was a little bit more of the same for me in Winchester, which listen, is a bad movie.
Very bad movie.
All around.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
Nobody's really giving a good performance in that.
No one is being, and there's a lot of good actors in that, actually.
Yeah.
No, that's a shockingly bad movie.
Shockingly bad movie. But I don't like this guy. I hesitate to be like, this guy's a bad actor.
Right, yeah.
But like, because clearly he's getting more work than I am, but I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay, yeah, it's fair.
I don't get any warmth from him as like in the father stuff.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Or as the husband stuff. I don't really get
that's a weird...
He just seems, to me, he seems cold the whole movie. So like when it's hard for me to tell when he has flipped.
It is interesting.
It honestly like bogged the kind of like a lot of the movie down for me, especially when he's like having these dream sequences, if they're dreams at all, about like talking to Pascal and going like into the forest and having all this weird stuff happen, and then he like just has the same expression the whole time.
Yeah, I do think there is, and look, he is an actor I have liked him many, although it is interesting, he is not generally a guy who plays warm characters in things, so I do think that is sort of a, like, I know him from a lot of like dark crime stuff where he plays gangsters, or so I think that is maybe some, or even like he's on the HBO show Winning Time about the LA Lakers, where he's the yelling coach at everybody and stuff like that. So I do think that I will say this, I do think he is kind of a weird choice.
Okay.
And also I don't know what it is about these Pet Sematary movies that both of them really fail to get the Lewis, particularly the Lewis Rachel marriage, I think these two have slightly more chemistry than the two in the other one, who I felt like where we were just like, I don't fucking see these two seem like total strangers, but still it doesn't quite work. I get his desperation more than his warmth, is I guess what I'm saying. When he flips the switch and he's like, I've got to bring my daughter back, I think he's better at that than when he is just like, I'm a father who loves Louis Creed is kind of a tough character.
It seemed like and so like, okay, so part of the kind of like, I don't know, so maybe what is part of this is that, like, I think we talked about this briefly when we were discussing the 1989. Is it 89 or 88?
It's 89.
89. Is that, like, in the novel, Lewis is kind of an asshole. Like, he does love his family, but he, like, but I think that the love part comes across better in the novel than like it may seem.
Right.
But like, I don't see as much in the performance of a like dichotomy between like him being inconvenienced by like stuff about being a father and like feeling genuine love for his children. Like everything that happens to him seems to be an inconvenience.
That's for sure. And like I said, I think both it's so interesting that he seems to be a tough character for screenwriters to crack and directors to direct. Which
we've kind of seen is like a thing for King guys.
Well, a lot of King protagonists are pieces of shit, really, right? Like, or at least in their sort of moment to moment actions, are like, a lot of his books are particularly fathers, particularly if it's about a father, because we're not talking about Cujo, but that guy fucking sucks. I mean, that.
Like, talk about an incidental character. Like, it's wild, which is wild because like the story basically almost hinges on the fact that he is kind of estranged from his wife, but like every time the book cuts back to him, I'm like, fuck this guy again.
Yeah, it's just really weird. Or like we've talked about the idea that King has way more love for Jack Torrance than we, and I don't think
like anybody.
I was gonna say I don't think that's
he's the president of the Jack Torrance fan club.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not like a unique thing. I don't know anyone who reads that book and it's like I feel like the mildest level of sympathy for this guy. But King is like, what are you talking about? He's totally misunderstood. It's just, it is an interesting thing. And I do think Louis Creed is that too. So I do think in this, once again, in reaction to it, I do feel like they just back off on a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
They just back off on him being an asshole. So he does come off more aloof than anything. Because it's like, well, he's kind of a prick if we do the stuff that's in the book. And still no weird bathtub hand job scenes. So
I was concerned for a minute there it was going to happen, but
because that does feel like the edgy R-rated 2019 movie might have done that. But once again, these guys, the restraint of these filmmakers, that is so much. And yes, but kind of similar to the '89 movie, Amy Seimetz has all the heavy lifting to do in their scenes. She really makes this. Luckily, she's great.
She was really good.
There's really not many other people in this movie. You think about it. Like when you look at the cast list, it's Lewis and Rachel and Judd. Ellie and Gage is just a baby in this thing.
Yeah.
Although
two
twins.
I will say I was also pretty pleased with Gage's performance. For a baby. Yeah. I think he hit his marks. Hit his marks really well.
Yeah.
I believed it when he said, "I love you, Dada."
Yeah. But played by twins, who, by the way, another adorable thing. Look at them at South by Southwest and their matching bow ties. Those boys, they're just adorable. Oh, another piece of trivia I loved is they talk about they cast 5 cats as Church. And one of them had to bow out early because it just couldn't stop being scared on set. And I'm like, that's adorable.
Oh, no.
One of them was just like, no way, man. No way. And they were all rescues.
I'm out.
They were all rescue cats, by the way, too, which is very nice.
Yay.
Yeah, that you love to see it. But very good, actually. Yeah, very good, expressive. And then it's just the Victor Pascal guy, who, as we talk about that, I do think maybe you just could have gotten rid of Victor Pascal. I mean, at least for the movie they're making, that is less campy, that is more just sort of vague about the supernatural stuff. Because aside from the effect is certainly a lot better. Like when Victor Pascow is the mist and stuff like that, looks cool as hell. Or when he's in the glass of the window, certainly a lot better than the very aged poorly optical effects of the '89 movie. But and I think, no offense to Absa Ahmad, who plays Victor Pascow, who does, as good a job.
Oh, he's
yeah,
like he and John Lithgow, I think, are doing the most.
Well, because
even if I think that John Lithgow is not actually doing the most, but it just seems like he is,
once again,
he's so fucking good.
Yeah, that guy just can't be bad. But no, he's got the weight of Victor Pascow.
I wonder if there were like
deleted stuff
stuff with Victor Pascow, because it does seem that the movie just sort of forgets about him.
It does sort of feel like that, because initially when they set him up, he is this sort of, as he is in the book and stuff like that, this sort of specter of doom. And you get the dream sequence where he says actually it's not even a dream sequence, just when he dies and he sits up in the hospital bed and says some barriers shouldn't be broken. Also really cool gnarly gore effects on Pascal. Yeah, he looks fucked up and like, oh shit, that is what a guy who got hit by a car would look like. It's really good. But he's doing a good job. He's playing everything with the weight of like, dude, don't.
Holy shit.
Please don't do that. This guy hasn't done a lot. I would like to, he should get more work. Because he's just bounced around a little bit on some TV and stuff like that. But and then totally thankless role for Zelda, but at least it's played by an actual young actress and not an adult man in makeup. And the more gnarly makeup. And they also, that was another thing they consciously talk about in the script. They never say what's wrong with Zelda expressly in the movie.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they ever say spinal meningitis.
No, they say, there's one line about like when Rachel's breaking down and talking about, my parents said I'd be in that bed with a twisted spine.
Yeah, or Zelda said that.
Oh, Zelda says, that's right. Zelda says that. Yeah, that's the thing where it's like that I would get that. Then one of the great, very creepy when she's in the dumbwaiter is, that'll haunt your dreams. Effectively, yeah. So I do think, let's talk about the ending, because we have to, right? That's the big, really the biggest change, right? I mean, really more so. You can certainly making Ellie the one who dies and comes back, but the ending is wholly different. But I know that a lot of people, I like this ending. It's disturbing in a new way.
It is, because it takes the ending of or the kind of, an interpretation of like the ending of the novel as like the abandoning the family unit by the father, like becoming so obsessed with something that like even though there is a living, like the family still exists, he still has his daughter, like he abandons his family. But this is like a destruction of the family unit more than abandonment. It is like, we're just like, listen, everything that is like good and like the optimism of family and community, it's gone. Judd's dead, his house is burned down, we're all zombies, and we're gonna make this baby a zombie too. Fuck it.
That's what I mean, because I was sitting there watching it again last night, and I hadn't watched it since I saw it in the theater in 2019. I was sitting there going, I think this is darker than the ending of the book in a way. The ending of the book is sadder, like on a more individual level, but this is so bleak. And I totally get why King is kind of like, King's like, dude,
he's gonna scare the hell out of you.
Hell yeah, he is. And it definitely it has that feeling, and it is sort of a thing where you go like, Oh man, if you hadn't read this book specifically and just knew King, you might think King wrote this ending because
Yeah.
it does have that vibe. So I do think it's a thing when people are like, "Fuck the ending, man, ruins the book." And I think I'm glad you agree that it's sort of like, I don't know, man. I think it still gets at the point of the book in a lot of ways.
I mean, so like, right, like what this bringing us back to like what makes this a Pet Cemetery
Right.
story?
Yeah.
Uh, I think that it gets more to like the core of what this movie is trying to go for. I don't think it hits all the time, but like this is more about the entire family unit. Like this story, this Pet Cemetery story, try saying that 5 times fast, is about the whole family
Yes.
rather than just Lewis,
Right.
really. And
Yeah.
so this ending is good for that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a lot of what I like about this. That's what I like about this movie is it does feel more like a story of the family,
Yeah.
as opposed to because it's interesting. The book and the '89 movie kind of start out as that way, and then it becomes about Lewis. And then here,
Yeah.
it does the same thing, but it comes back around where it's like it's about the family,
Mm-hmm.
then it's about Lewis, then the family comes back into Lewis's story,
Yeah.
which I think
Well,
works.
because it's more this is more about because the novel and the '89 movie touches on this a lot is like Lewis's relationship with Judd is also like a really big part of that because Lewis sees Judd as like a surrogate father figure, and
Mhm.
that sort of ingratiates Judd as this grandfatherly figure.
Right.
But from the jump of the 2019 film, it is about more about Ellie's relationship with Judd, and that's how that ingratiates him as this grandfather figure.
Well, and I think that really works for one of the things that is a tough jump of character is like Judd knows this isn't great,
Yeah.
but the idea of he has such a bond with Ellie in this that he is like, well, I don't want her to be upset, so maybe we should try to bring the cat back. And then once again, Lithgow, even at 70% or whatever, that look he gives Lewis at the funeral of like, I know what you're thinking, bro. No way, man. Don't do it. Don't you do it. And then when they're drinking later and he's like, oh, I really thought you were going to do it. I'm so, you've drugged
And then
my
he
drink.
devolves
Yeah.
into the crying and then like the drugs kick in.
Once again, yeah. Hot take, Lithgow.
I was saying Lithgow's a really good actor.
One of our best actors, man. He shows up for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes tops in Killers of the Flower Moon. Fucking crushes. It just go like, I saw that and went, I didn't know he's in this. God damn, he crushes in like a total he just shows up and you're just like, God, he just rules the movie for like 20 minutes. This is awesome. No, he's great. And then that really is selling how I would say more on the writing, but I will say, yeah, this is not a great showcase for Jason Clarke. I see it more in, I don't know. I agree with, he doesn't have an arc. He just has, he's this and then he's broken and insane.
Yeah.
It's not an arc. It's just a hard shift. I don't know. It's, I guess, maybe more. But you don't get enough.
It doesn't even seem that hard a shift to
because
me.
you don't get enough grounding in him beforehand.
No,
you don't get a stable sense of who this guy is.
And honestly, like there's like editing choices in here that like seem odd to me. Like there are like the big beat, like the biggest beats of the story. I could tell you in what order they happen, but like there's some moments in here where I'm like, I have no idea. I don't remember when this happened in the movie because some of the editing just sort of feels like not filling time almost.
Yeah, it's interesting because the movie is actually fairly well paced for the most part, I would say.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part. Yeah, I do agree that there's some it does the sort of time between like Church coming back to Ellie's death is maybe the wonky.
It's a little it's a little fuzzy in there.
It's like a lot of these movies. It's the middle section, right? It's that second act. I agree with the people who talk about first and second acts are the hardest to me, and in screenwriting, because that's like the bulk of the movie. And you almost any movie, you go like, what happened in the second act of the movie? Like, okay, that was the majority of the movie, but like most people remember the beginnings and ends of movies, and then you're like, and then the middle, like a bunch of stuff happened. And I do think, this is definitely good. Although love them for hour 40 runtime. Come on, man.
Oh yeah,
that is good stuff. I
was able to watch the movie twice yesterday.
Yeah, but I just thought that is good. That is good because that is not the impulse. We're going to talk about it, Chapter 2, on the next episode, and I think that's 2:45, like 2 hours 45. It's very long, and I like that movie, but could it have been shorter? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
It did not need to bump up against 3 hours. So I do respect that for the. But yeah, I said the ending works. I think the movie is on the broadest levels. This thing works. I think there are individual things that don't, but the idea of the idea that anyone could see this and just be like, wow, huge piece of shit, man. I mean, just total mess. I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a total mess. I think that there were some definite missteps, and it doesn't hit all the time. But we usually do this a little later, but I think this is definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I agree. I still don't think either version.
I'll probably give it like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
but it's definitely worth a watch.
I might go up to 7, but I'm not like right there. But I think we're in roughly because I still don't think either one of them is like definitive Pet Sematary. Both of them get at things in the book. And I said, I think you have a more affinity for the book than I do. I like it, but I still don't think either one. And I think maybe having seen both of these now, maybe there really isn't a definitive movie to be made of Pet Sematary.
I mean, so that's sort of. I don't think we've like talked about this specifically, but like that's sort of the thing you run into with adapting media, like adapting mediums that are so different, like in terms of novels to movies, or even like I know that some of this show is going to be like comic books to movies. So like that big shift in medium, it's hard, I think, to get a definitive. I think the core of it is really like, well, getting to the core.
You're right. Yeah.
Of the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's it. Is this medium's using its strengths to tell the central theme or story or whatever you want to use at the core of this franchise or individual work or whatever. Yeah, that's sort of what I look for, and so that's why I don't get as lost in some of the nitpicky stuff. We talked about this last week, where you can always just start listening. Where is this specific thing from the book? Where is that? And you just go like, that's not really the nature of adaptation. And then, but the thing is always like, that you run into these challenges, but then there are times when it works so well that will mean they will always, right? There's always a chance you're going to make Jaws, which is maybe the to me the finest example of the improvement of a thing. That or The Godfather is the other one that people bring up a lot. The book, The Godfather, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like a piece of shit, but it's
book.
I mean, I think in both. I think that's an appropriate reaction for both cases. Those are cases where the movies are so iconic, so beloved, that the fact that they even were books has sort of been left on the wayside, because it's like, right, those are like two masterpieces based on books. Godfather's a little better than Jaws, but both books are kind of like B-level fiction that got turned into fucking masterpieces. So I just think, I always talk about, this is the thing in Hollywood, people go like, why do they keep doing stuff like this? Like, because sometimes it's an absolute...
Sometimes it works. I mean, we've talked about
Jurassic Park,
Park as well. Like, I think what folks who have read Jurassic Park, I guess this is me anyway, but this sticks out so much that I would think that a lot of people would take this from it, is that it is very heavy in the science of the science
Oh,
fiction.
God. I mean, look, Crichton was capital N nerd.
Yes. Like in the
Yeah.
truest sense.
Oh, God, yeah.
But Spielberg kind of found that core of the like kind of like the Alan Grant
Yeah.
like character arc. Like found that core, and that is like what really makes Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
In addition to cool dinosaur,
The thing that Crichton and Spielberg, the Venn diagram meets on dinosaurs are awesome.
yes,
And then they each
and that definitely helped.
And Crichton goes, how would that happen scientifically? And Spielberg goes, what would a human reaction to that be?
What kind of story can we tell with this?
Yeah, it's always Spielberg. That's the thing about Spielberg, right? He's the humanist, always.
Yeah.
That's why I like his War of the Worlds movie too, right? Because it is just like, what would a person? How is an alien invasion filtered through a single character? Right? He doesn't get lost in the spectacle. That's why I still would love to see him do something with King material, because I do think King, like in a lot of ways, King more than Crichton would seem like a novelist that Spielberg would latch on to. Mm-hmm. Instead, what you get is, and I think I said this before, with the aforementioned Poltergeist is almost Spielberg doing King.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of, and that's a rare screenplay by Spielberg. He doesn't write a lot, but he did write Poltergeist. So it's, it's interesting to see. Someday, and I do have it way out, I do want to do a Crichton season. We will do Crichton movies on here.
Nice.
Yeah. And then that's the debate in my head about, do I include Jurassic Park in that, or do I do a separate season about the Jurassic Park franchise? Because that spawned its own thing.
Right, because the first two
are
would
Crichton.
Be part of the Crichton.
Right, but then you go like
the last fucking 100 of them.
Literally just the other day, they're like, gonna start rolling cameras on another one. You're like, wow, it's crazy how it's become it's so interesting that talk about a thing where people know it's a book, but the idea of it being a Crichton creation, it's expanded into something way more than he could ever have thought, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I love, there's a great quote from him, there's a great clip that I saw somebody play of him on, shudder to say, Charlie Rose. But I know, right? But when he was promoting Lost World, then fucking Crichton's promoting the sequel to Jurassic Park, but in the interview he goes, sometimes the sequels are better in theater. Like sometimes, even if it's good, it doesn't work. And you're just like, God damn it, man, you don't know how right you are. When he just goes like, sometimes these things are better left untouched. Anyway, buy my sequel. Because regardless of what people think of that movie, and I love Crichton, the Lost World book is not good.
Nah, not really.
He talk about a guy whose heart wasn't. I don't think he really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a preview of that. But yes, no, I think we've this is in general a fairly positive. I think the idea of like massively thinking one or the other between the two Pet Sematary movies, like I think they both work in places and don't work in places, right? Like the idea that because the people who lionize the '89 movie, a lot of that's got to be nostalgia, I would think, because it's just. There are just fundamental problems with it. And there are fundamental problems here, too. They're just different ones.
Yeah. And the existence of one does not mean, does not delete the other.
Absolutely not. I think both are worth watching. And actually, like I said, watching these again like this on the show, it's really fascinating to look at both of them.
Yeah.
But that being said, totally ignore Pet Sematary 2. And I know art is subjective, but the people who are vehemently defending that, I don't know what you see. I can't fathom.
Yeah, I don't want to meet these people in real life.
Like I said, I am. Yeah, it's okay to like a movie, but sometimes you're just like, I don't get it.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I will say, the thing that I was pleasantly surprised by the most, because when I first saw this trailer,
yes,
and I saw how kind of the trailer. Really plays up the kind of grim, dark aspects of it. I'm using scare quotes, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm sitting there watching this trailer, like, then there's no way that there's going to be a cover of Pet
Yes.
Cemetery by the
Okay.
Ramones in the credits.
I'm so
and
glad.
there was. You know what? I love to be wrong sometimes, and I'm so glad I was wrong.
I'm so glad you said that because we almost skipped over that. And I almost stood up and applauded in the theater.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, fuck yeah. When as soon as the guitar started, I was like, no, they're doing it.
They didn't.
Because
and I do like that it is kind of a more subdued, kind of like indie rock version too. That very much fits the tone.
It does, yeah. And it's still, but it's just like, and especially, you really need it because the ending is so dark.
Yeah.
And so when that starts up, you're like, oh, right, this was a horror movie. It's fun, too. God, I know, I love that. And the cover's awesome. The cover rules.
I liked it a lot, actually.
I looked it up. I didn't know this band that did it. I got to look it up again now because I've already forgotten. But I was like, who is this? I don't know. Starcrawler is the name of the band.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard their stuff either.
No, they've got a cool female lead singer. Because I was almost like, it's not. I know it's not metric, but it's like in that sort of vein.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to look up their stuff because I did enjoy that. But yeah, the fact that I was like, yes, I don't want to be buried.
Buried in a pet cemetery.
Yeah, there are just things like that. Immediate. Like I was just talking to somebody about, and another preview for a future season. They're working on a Highlander remake right now.
Oh.
And I'm like, if they don't play.
Who
Wants to Live Forever? They'll do a cover of Who Wants to Live Forever, right? You can. The other Queen songs, I would love if they included Prince of the Universe, but whatever. But if you don't put Who Wants to Live Forever,
then what are we even
doing? I am so like, God, I hope that's good, but I don't know, man. Remaking Highlander. Although it's Henry Cavill is playing McLeod and Chad Stahelski who makes the John Wick movies and directing it. Maybe. But I've also just been, there's literally never been another good Highlander thing. Yeah, so I'm actually, I'm not like super close friends, but I'm acquaintances with the daughter of the guy who wrote the first Highlander movie.
Oh.
And you want to get him started. Fucking Highlander 2! I talked to her about that. I said, she just goes, oh, we just don't bring it up in the house.
We just don't. we don't use the H. We don't use the H word in this house.
Fucking Highlander. Because I guess he wrote a script for Highlander 2 that wasn't. Yeah. And then he's
and you know what? They didn't use it, and look where it got him.
Yeah. And so distinctly.
You know what? I agree. I'll let it go off, King.
Yeah. No, exactly. Speaking of King, let's talk about what did Uncle Stevie think? What did Uncle Stevie think of this movie? This is from an interview he did with Entertainment Weekly when the movie came out, and they asked him, "What did you think of it?" I like that now we're in a world where it's easier. The more modern ones we get, the more easy it is to find his reactions. Because there's enough interviews where somebody goes, what'd you think of it? This is direct quote from Stephen King. It's fucking great. It's a really good movie. It's a grown-up adult kind of movie. It's not like 12 semi-clad teens getting killed in the summer. I do agree with him on that. And I do like that it's a movie, and same thing with the novel, and this is true. It's about mature people dealing with it's coming out of adult fears of losing one's child or family in that sense. And then he goes on to talk about a bunch. But he did also say, I like this, because this is when the movie was out, right? Like just coming out. And he says he's eager to catch it on the big screen because he says, I streamed it. They sent me the thing. And man, it had a big Stephen King in the middle of it. They watermark things. So I'll have to go see it in a movie theater. I just love King, man. He's just the best. But yeah, he does talking about he's like, he's just going like, I get why they made the changes. Yeah, makes sense to me, Which is definitely a different King than was young King, right? It
really is.
Because there used to be a time when it was just like, they changed the thing? How fucking stupid is that?
Yeah, I'll make my own version of this to show them how dumb they were for making all those changes.
Yeah, I think he's mellowed a little bit in his older years.
Yeah.
And also, I think maybe also been beaten down by I can't get upset because now there are a million adaptations. So maybe there's a conservation of energy there too, about like I can't get equally worked up every time they make one of these things.
Like, I could be writing,
Yeah.
so let me go do that.
They really fucked up Dolan's Cadillac, man.
Can't fuck up Dolan's Cadillac more than it already was.
Yeah. Yeah, what I mean, we've talked about that. Even in his own producing of work, he's become more quantity over quality anyway. So
Yeah.
he's got to be, because I've heard him shit talk some of his own books even now. I know he doesn't, hey man, I don't know what I was doing on Dreamcatcher, man. Hopped up on painkillers is what he was doing.
Hopped up on painkillers.
And it reads that way. All right. So as always, we turn to our highs and lows segment. Let's see. I'm trying to think about where I should. All right. I'll start with a rage filled.
Okay. Because we know. I mean, we know, right? Like we know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from Nana Gladys.
Oh, Nana.
Oh, Nana.
Why'd you go to the theater?
Oh, so scary. Just brief anecdote on that point. When I used to work in high school, I worked at a Blockbuster Video because I'm old, kids. And this old man came in and he was very interested in The Hills Have Eyes Part 2.
Okay.
The sequel to the remake that came out in the mid 2000s, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The new Hills Have Eyes Part 2, because that was on the new release shelf. And I go, dude, I don't know if this is for you. Like, I always really tried to take it to heart to like try to get to know people, and he was just like, I don't know, it could be, it could be all right. Hills Have Eyes or whatever. And he came back the next day. He goes, that is the most disgusting, sick, and having to try to explain. I tried to tell you. What did I? Yeah. I don't
know what
even...
you were like. Okay, listen.
Yeah.
The fact that he said, "Well, it's The Hills Have Eyes," like, buddy, you saw the first one, right?
Yeah. How bad could it be? Oh my God! I turned it off 20 minutes. This is outrage. He wasn't like mad at me, but he was just like, who could make such a thing?
He just needed somebody to talk to.
Oh, who could make such? Yeah. It was that thing, yeah. And that happened a lot because I worked in a suburban, so it was a lot of older people. That was the Hilton gift shop for me. Oh, God, I can only imagine. All right, so Nana Gladys titles their review, R.I.P. Pet Sematary.
Thank you, Nana. Very respectful.
As a fan of the book and the original movie, I wanted to go into the movie with an open mind and give it a chance. But I knew within 5 minutes that this was going to be nothing like the book or original movie. Although in some cases, change can be a good thing. Sadly, in this case, it really wasn't! ! No. Where do I start? Jason Clarke and Amy Seimetz had no on-screen chemistry. They weren't convincing as a couple at all. I think that's valid.
Point for Nana Gladys.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. I didn't have an emotional connection to the parents. There was no warmth, no real feeling of family. Gage was absent when Ellie wandered into the woods with Lewis at work. Had Rachel left him home alone?
Nana, how do you treat your daughter-in-law? I'm just asking.
There was no building of friendship that grows between Lewis and Judd. It was like, here's two men that have been neighborly sure, but not even nearly close, not even nearly as close as they are in the book. My daughter has a cat. My neighbors are nice people. Would they lead me to a magic place to bury it and bring it back from the dead? No! That requires, at minimum, a huge amount of trust. A bond that wasn't there. As we talked about, the movie really moves the bond to Judd and Ellie.
And the other thing that I forgot I wanted to kind of at least briefly touch on is part of... I think that was maybe a pretty good change in terms of like Judd not coming over immediately and introducing himself, because that doesn't really happen anymore.
God, no.
The fact that it is a much slower build up to him coming over to their house makes way more sense, because I think that is a much better portrayal of how you kind of meet neighbors, especially in rural areas.
My parents,
in these
and
2020s.
I live in an urban area in an apartment complex. My parents ask me all the time, "Have you made friends with your?" No, man.
I don't know any of these people's names. Like,
No.
I'm friendly to them. I
Yeah.
smile at them and wave and say hello when I walk by, but I don't know any of these people.
Lord, no.
And I don't like that. I wish I knew my neighbors more. I think
Sure.
a lot of people in our like age group kind of feel that a little
Yeah,
bit, but
it's also like, but we also are like, well, I'm not going to start that though, because that's
yeah,
weird.
Also,
Yeah.
like,
Beyond a casual,
what if it goes badly?
Yeah, beyond a
stranger
casual
danger.
Yeah, exactly. Beyond a casual conversation in an elevator, that's about it for me. And
Yeah.
the neighbors in this building. Actually, weirdly, new people moved in next to me, and when they moved in, the guy came over and knocked on my door to introduce himself. But if anyone knocks at my door, I'm immediately like, "What the fuck?"
Like, I didn't order anything.
Yeah, that's yeah, which I guess does speak to that. A knock at the door is like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's trouble. And I couldn't believe it.
It's just,
The guy's like, I moved in next door, and I was polite, but in my head I was like, and
yeah, like,
what do you want?
did I ask?
He's super nice, but also
Yeah.
beyond that, I've never spoken to him again. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. No discussion. No discussion about how anyone has ever buried a person up there. No watching the children grow and flourish. That happiness and joy that seems perfect only be ripped apart by the horror of the accident. That's one where I'm actually sure, but I actually think that's a thing that is kind of dumb in the '89 movie. That's some of the cheesiness of it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the tone of this was so much more serious that
Yeah.
I think it would have not worked to put in that kind of stuff more than it was, which was very subdued. But there is there is a part of me that, like, I wish that it was less like so serious.
Sure.
But, like, I mean, for what they did, I get that. Like,
But they're getting mad at a symptom of a thing, right? When it's like,
Yes.
if you want to bring up, because I think that's a valid thing. But if you're going like, why know this? It's like, well, that's not really what they're approaching. If this person was going, I wish the movie was less dark. Okay, that's more valid than just, no broken Rachel and Lewis being overtaken by the power of the place, unable to be there for his remaining family. No real background on Rachel's. This is getting into that thing once again.
Yeah.
And the dislike they have of Lewis or that he has for them. Like I said, that's one of my favorite things in the movie is that it's all implied. The hatred and horror.
It's more focused.
Oh, here it is specifically. The hatred and horror that combusts at the funeral of the child. Thrilled that's not in here, personally.
Yeah.
All these things that are key to me to building the bigger picture weren't there. They could have done amazing things with this movie. Modernized it so it's current, but with the connection and terror that is felt in the book and the first movie. All that... And even Pascal, as Ellie calls him, or Paxcow, as Ellie calls him, didn't say that he was what he was supposed to say. I've read the book. He says things he doesn't say. Zelda was really not scary. I thought they could make her equally, if not more terrifying than the original. And the end? Really? Was this a remake? No, it was a different story that borrowed the original character names and the original title of a truly heart-wrenching, horrific masterpiece and made it into what felt like a cheap knockoff. For me, a stranger...
Nana, you hit the nail on the head and you didn't even realize.
For me, a stranger sat next to me in the cinema, summed it up when she said to me, I don't remember any of that happening in the book. I looked at her and I said, that's because it doesn't.
And she was like, huh.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Good Lord.
Should I ask?
Yeah. One out of 10 stars, if that didn't need to be said.
Yeah.
But let's talk about somebody who did like the movie. This comes from IMDb user Rubellin. The review is titled, Brilliant Reimagining of the Classic Story with a New Powerful Ending. Typical of remakes, many reviewers choose to hate it because they somehow feel it disrespects the original. Sometimes that's true, such as Halloween, The Fog, or The Wicker Man. Agree with all three of those. Agree with all three of those. Terrible remakes of great movies. But occasionally, a remake surpasses the original, and I definitely believe this is one of them. First off, let's put it out there. As much as I like the original movie, it is a bit cheesy and campy at times. I don't find it particularly scary, but it has a place for me because I saw it in the theater 30 years ago and have seen it many times since. Some of the acting is pretty questionable, and the bits of humor seem out of place. The remake gives us a very serious and creepy adaptation. It's brutal and makes no apologies, and I like that. Far too many films take a safe route, and those leave no lasting impression on me. Others take a very artsy direction and like to leave things irritatingly vague, often ending leaving viewers with a question over their heads. Pet Sematary 2019 goes into dark territory that sticks with you. I'm okay with the change of the dead child being the older daughter because, as the filmmakers explain, it's more realistic getting an older child to do what you need without having to resort to puppets. John Lithgow as Judd wasn't a bad choice either, as charming as Fred Gwynne was, though he was a bit hammy. I would say only in fitting with the tone of that movie.
Yeah.
All of the actors in this version hold their role well, and none of them made me question the choices. While I'm sure the ending was dissatisfying to those who may have wanted a Hollywood rainbow ending. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if that... Okay. If he went into Pet Sematary expecting that, you don't know what... Okay, anyway. It really clinched it for me and put this right into the dark classic category. When you watch the film a second time, you realize the opening sequence shows the brutality of what happened to the youngest child after the credits roll. Wow, did they really go there? I love them for being that... The second time... I picked that up on the... All right. So while those faithful to the original film were always going to dislike this, regardless of how it was written, for me it's a hands-down winner. I've already seen it 3 times and find it very satisfying. Quit comparing it to the old version, which is really more of a camp classic than anything, and just appreciate the dark aspects that make a scary film a classic.
Okay, I think that is the least unhinged 10 out of 10 we've ever read.
Agreed. Because he's more emphatically positive than I would be, but in general, I would say I agree with most of those points, just maybe not as much as this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's right. And I totally agree about the thing where it's just like, your memory of Pet Sematary may be that it scared you as a child, but if you watch it again as an adult, I enjoy, it's very fun. But yeah, it does not have a whole lot. This is certainly no question, this is scarier, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So that's Pet Sematary from 2019. Next week on the show, we are, of course, going to finish Andy Muschietti's It saga with It.
Yeah, we gotta drive from Ludlow down to Derry or up to Derry.
Did you see the sign in this movie?
I did see the sign. Also, at Ellie's birthday party, Judd is telling someone about Cujo. And it's like, hey, buddy, who are you telling this story to?
Yeah.
This is a child's birthday party.
I like that for the nerdy, but yeah, you're going like the dairy sign though. I do appreciate. Yeah. Like dairy 30 miles or whatever. You're like, nah, all right, nice. That's nice.
Nah,
Cujo might have been a step too far.
Yeah, he does tell Lewis about Cujo in the book, but like it's like a conversation they
right.
have.
Yeah, here it's like
it's
just like 80 yard in the background.
Are you telling? Oh. Okay, it would be fun though if Lewis was like, "Hey, you know that fucked up story you told me about that dog? Tell that to my mother and father-in-law."
But yes, we will finish up with It Chapter 2 as the love the marketing campaign for that. The whole tagline of It Ends. Great.
Whoa.
Great. So that'll be next week on the show. Of course, if you want more from this and all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.podbean.com/punchup. Like I said, you get cool exclusive bonus content from this show and all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network. If you head over there, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, that is greatly appreciated and helps us out. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. Until next week, the case file is closed.
Hi. My name is Stephen King. I'm gonna scare the hell out of you, and that's a promise.